Ohio State football getting ready to face Michigan State and Heisman Trophy hopeful Kenneth Walker III, Heisman Trophy candidate, I suppose we should say, on the outskirts of that with the rushing season he's had. Ohio State has not faced a good rushing attack now in several weeks. So today, cleveland.com, Buckeye Talk, I'm Nathan Baird, along with Doug Lesmerises and Stephen Means, and we're asking how prepared is Ohio State to face a team like Michigan State and a back like Kenneth Walker III?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, part of it isn't their fault because, as we were saying, if they had faced the Jahan Dotson or David Bell of running backs in the last 6 weeks, then we'd be like, oh, okay. But they haven't. They haven't really faced somebody like that since Mo Ibrahim from Minnesota or C.J. Verdell from Oregon, who are now both out for the season, unfortunately. So, and then you have sort of the lingering questions at linebacker where it is clear that their best linebacker is a guy who was a running back 6 months ago. So, I don't know that they're a bad tackling team, but I don't know that they're a great tackling team. I feel like I have a lot of questions about it. And I tried to ask Ryan Day about, like, how do you want your linebackers to play? And it's like, he said, well, it's about reading keys and, what's the tackle doing here? Or what am I supposed to do? And, like, I just don't know how they're going to meet Kenneth Walker III in the hole. Are they going to track him down when he bounces outside? And at the moment, I can envision him bouncing outside and finding some room, or maybe breaking an initial tackle through the hole and turning a 3-yard run into a 10-yard run. Like, I can see that. Maybe that's wrong, but right now I'm unsure about how prepared they are.
Well, Ohio State has answered defensive questions over the course of the season. I think everyone would say that they are more sure on defense today than they were coming out of the Oregon game or even coming out of the Tulsa game the next week. I think that's actually maybe the worst defensive performance of the season in some ways. It didn't result in a loss. The personnel has changed. The way that they use that personnel has changed. They changed who is calling the plays on defense, switching from Kerry Combs to Matt Barnes. And you've seen a lot of those things pay off. You saw it pay off in the way that the pass rush was executing over the past month, not so much against Purdue, but over the previous, 19 sacks of the previous 4 games. You're starting to see guys like Tyreek Smith show up. So we're not saying that Ohio State didn't show progress over the course of the past 2 months on defense. It's just it's hard for me to look at where they improved and say that's what's going to help you beat a team like Michigan State. Stephen, from your perspective, what have you seen that maybe lends you to think that they are more prepared for this? Because the last 2 times they did play a rushing attack, Minnesota had a lot of success. Oregon obviously had a lot of success. Or do you still have those same kind of lingering questions?
Yeah, I think the only thing we're sure about, I think I've said this a couple of times, we know who their best players are. We don't know if those best players are good enough to actually, stop Kenneth Walker, stop C.J. Verdell, stop Mohamed Ibrahim in those first 2 weeks. We don't know that. We just know that they're playing the best players on this roster. My biggest concerns are these things. This defensive line is really good at getting after a quarterback. I understand last week they didn't do it, but also Purdue was getting rid of the ball pretty quickly, so you couldn't do that. They're not great at getting off of blocks in the run game. We're not sure about the linebackers tackling, and we know what happens with Bryson Shaw, free safety. Every so often he's going to give up a big play because he doesn't erase a lot. That's my biggest issue is if those things don't happen and now you insert a Heisman candidate at running back and he's getting to the hole smoothly and then you're not getting those tackles on that second level, is he going to break off a bunch of 40-yard runs on Saturday? Or it could be the polar opposite, and they just prove a lot of things like they've been doing over the last couple of weeks here. But that's what's on the table. I think it's one extreme or it's the other. It's no middle ground right now, which is why all of us are sitting here pretty unsure of how this is going to go.
I think the personnel thing is an important point that we're 3 weeks into this season and we're kind of looking at each other like, how do they not know who's supposed to be playing on this team right now? And it seemed like at times that they didn't, but they have sort of figured that out. I mean, we know who's supposed to be starting. They've set their roles. The guys who are coming in like specialized roles, I think are doing a good job too. And now it's just a matter of the fact that they just haven't taken that kind of reformed defense and put it against this kind of challenge. And we'll see more on Saturday. Get the text 614-350-3315 and listen to Buckeye Talk every day because we'll be talking about this matchup throughout the week.